Good. Well, after watching the film of the Georgia game, our players did a really good job in some tough circumstances, tough situation relative to playing on the road and the weather, and certainly proud of sort of the statement they made in the game. They beat a good team. There's obviously a lot of things that we could do better and clean up, and that's certainly something that we need to be committed to. But you beat a good team. It is what it is, and that's it. And I think we did that because we prepared well and practiced well all week. We had really good focus in the game on execution and people doing their job. And the effort and the toughness was, what we need to have success in our league. But, we are what we are as an identity only if it happens on a continuum. So you always have a next challenge. You always have a next game. You can look at teams all over the country who have big wins, and then 2 weeks later, they're not so happy again. So this is something that we need to build on. It's something that we need to improve on. It's something our players need to learn so that we can continue to improve as a team, because we have many tough challenges, including the game we have coming up this week. We did have a couple SEC Players of the Week, Derrick Henry on offense and Calvin Ridley as a freshman, and our Players of the Week were, Derrick Henry, Jake Coker, Ryan Kelly, Calvin Ridley, defense, Reggie Ragland, Nashawn Robinson, Eddie Jackson, special teams, Cyrus Jones, Adam Griffin, and Minka Fitzpatrick. So, we have a couple guys that are a little nicked up, and at this time in the season, some of those guys, may not be able to practice on a Monday, but we expect everybody to be able to come back and practice tomorrow. So we really don't have any big injuries or anything like that to report. Arkansas, to me, has a really, really good team. Everybody knows what a physical game it was last year, and they have 16 starters back. I know they got a couple receivers that are injured, but for the offensive lineman, really good running back, and Alex Collins, quarterback Brandon Allen, has been starting now for 3 years and is a very, very good player. And their defense is one of the tops against the run in the SEC, and overall they have played better and better each week. So Brett has done a really, really good job there of creating a lot of toughness and a physical team that you really have to have your jaw set to play well against the type of things that they do. And they have been a very efficient, effective passing team to go with a great running game. So this is going to be a real challenging game. We're obviously looking forward to, getting back home and playing in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But I think the focus for us is really on, good preparation, good focus when the game comes on execution, getting the kind of effort and toughness and discipline to execute that we need to have success. And that's what we're going to continue to try to execute.
We'll start right here with Aaron. Nick, you played Deron Payne and a lot of regular on Saturday. He seemed to play with a lot of leverage, a lot of strength, a lot of power. How has he come along as a player's development? What do you think of his play?
Well, he's improving every week, and you got to keep in mind, young players that have ability have to learn how to play with consistency, make sure that they're doing their job each and every play. And we were pleased with what Deron has done, and there's obviously some things that he can improve on. We think Darren Lake is a good player, and those two guys have to do a good job. And there'll be a lot of regular people this week in this game as well. So those two guys will certainly have some challenges relative to one of the biggest, best offensive lines, probably in the country.
Yeah. You mentioned the importance of consistency. Is consistency something you can coach, or is it you have to trust your players to bring it every Saturday?
Well, I think you do both. I think consistency is a human behavior that we all struggle with, every day. Things don't go right. Everybody gets all fired up about trying to get it right. Things go really well, and, everybody wants to relax, and, I deserve a day off. I did a good job. So, What's my relief syndrome here? So I think that consistency is an element of human nature that the individual has to challenge himself, as well as we have to coach and make our players aware of the things that they do well they need to build on. And that's what creates a continuum, and the continuum is what creates consistency. So that's what our focus is going to be.
Back over here to Mark.
On third down, the offense has really struggled there, not being able to sustain drives, but the defense has been able to get off the field. What do you see from both sides of the ball on third down?
Well, I don't think you can. I think what you say is true in previous games, but I think to make that kind of judgment in the kind of game it was on Saturday, we probably just ran the ball on 5 or 6 third downs toward the end of that game, trying to take the air out of the ball and not necessarily trying to throw it and get first downs and doing the things you need to do to get first downs, and actually went for it on fourth down a couple times, just trying to take the air out of it. So I do think we need to make some improvements on third down, and I think it's a total team thing. I think the pass protection needs to be better. I think the route runners need to be more consistent, and I think the quarterbacks, the receivers got to catch the ball, because we've had some drops, less in the last game, but and the quarterbacks have got to do what the design is to try to get the first down. So it's something that we want to continue to focus on. Defensively, we have gotten off the field in the last couple of weeks, but it's always a challenge trying to do things that can affect the quarterback on third down, as well as get their good people covered relative to their system and scheme, and that's something we need to continue to do.
In the middle with Michael.
Special teams, seems like there's been a lot of improvement this year with some of the coverage, the kicking and the punting. Where would you rate that at this point in the season?
Well, I really don't rate anything at this point in the season. We have made some improvement in the kicking game. I think we still need to work on our specialists being very consistent. I think the kicking game was probably best in the last game in some difficult circumstances. We had some positive punt returns. We blocked a kick, scored on special teams. Kickoff coverage was good for the most part. Kickoff return was a little better. At least we had a chance to get the ball, up in decent field position, and I think very close to making some positive plays there. So these are all things that we need to continue to work on and improve on, so that it becomes something that is an actual asset to our team.
John.
Nick, it seemed like Kenyon wasn't really able to get going against Georgia. What did you kind of see on the game film, and are there ways to kind of adjust his role against more smash type games?
Well, Kenyon Drake has to focus on what he needs to do to be a good player in his preparation and what he needs to do, and he can't make a home run every time he gets the ball. He's got to trust and believe in the plays the way they're designed, and go run those plays and understand that the 3 or 4 yard gain is a good play. And if you do that, then you're going to have a chance to make big plays. And that's he's a good player, and we obviously need to get him to do those things so that he has a chance to have the kind of production he's capable of. There are some things that we've done in the past to try to utilize his skills. Obviously, the situation in the game on Saturday was not favorable to doing some of those things, but that's something that we'll try to continue to do in the future.
Middle left, Matt.
Nick, 2 questions. First of all, with Jake Hooker, it seems like he's been at his best this year in the big game. So 2 of the 3 best defenses that you guys have played are Georgia and Wisconsin, and those are probably his 2 best games this year. Is there any reason for him doing better in some of the big games? Anything that you've seen during the week that's kind of lent itself to that?
No, I think that Jake has done a really good job. I think he's gotten better and better every week. I do think he did a good job in the Wisconsin game. I think that, we probably ran the ball a little more effectively in those games, which helped with the play action passes. It helps with the third down situations, even though, like I said before, Saturday, once we got ahead in the game, we weren't taking many chances on third down, and we felt good about how our defense was playing. So we were going to try not to make a mistake to allow them to get back in the game. So, but I think in those 2 games, there was a reason that the team played a certain way that helped Jake play a certain way that was very helpful to him being successful. And I think we need to continue to do that, but I also think we need to expand what we do and be able to execute more things so that we can be more effective in other situations in the game as well.
And just secondly, how well do you feel like Jaron Reed has played this year, and just him being at a lighter weight? Have you noticed any difference in terms of how he's moving around and doing things compared to what he was?
He's having a really good year. His production is up. His production points are up. He's shown a lot of leadership on our team this year. It's been very important to him. He's probably in better shape than he's been in the past relative to, and I think his quickness is better, and I think that's what's been helpful to him being more productive.
John Zimmer.
You talked about the importance of consistency. Kind of a two-parter about Derrick Henry. How consistent has he been, other than the ULM game where he wasn't maybe fully healthy? And his guy's averaging about 8 yards a carry in the second half. Is he just a type of guy that gets stronger as game goes on?
I think he does, and I think that he has had a really good year so far. I think it's important for us that, we continue to use him in a way that's most beneficial to him and to us, which is, sort of, feed him the ball, and he does seem to get stronger as the game goes on. I think our offensive line can do a little bit better job from a consistency standpoint in finishing blocks, and I think that would even make us more effective in how Derrick plays.
Right here with Dwayne.
Coach, you made a point of reference after the game that you were upset about the pregame, the way guys were going. Will you make that a point of reference when in another situation like that? Do you feel like you'll bring that up again throughout the year?
Well, look, I'm for players being focused on. I thought one of the reasons that I mentioned here that we played well in game is we were focused on the game. All right, and I think people have to be focused on doing their job. Doing other things, whether it's dancing on the field or talking to the opposition, we don't do that, because if you're doing that, you're not really focused on doing your job. I can't talk trash and focus on what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm just not a trash talker. I don't know, but that's just the way I think, and that's the way we've been. I'm not upset with our team or anything like that. I just thought that was a good opportunity for me to give them the message that, hey, we need to be focused on what we need to do in the game and execute in the game. All right, that misplaced emotion is something that we had earlier in the year, and we didn't execute very well in the game, and we didn't play very well because of it. So let's make sure that we're channeling our energy in the right direction so that we have a chance to be focused on the things we need to do to play well.
Tom in the back in the blue.
I want to ask you about Reggie Ragland. He's leading your team in tackles. What specifically has he done this year to improve his game, and what kind of impact does he have on the locker room and his teammates?
Well, Reggie has, been a good player. He was a very good player for us last year as well. So he has worked hard to improve. I think his understanding of the system and the scheme and what's expected of him is one of the reasons that he's very athletic and he's very explosive. But I think the better understanding, the more confidence he has, the better he plays, and that's something that we've tried to help him develop. And he's certainly a conscientious guy that does everything that you ask him to do, sets a tremendous example for his teammates, and has been a very good leader for us. And I think his stability out there has been very beneficial to our defensive team.
Stay in the back with Joe.
Coach, I know you always talk about not worrying about all the noise outside the program, but when the perception of what your team is so fluid week to week, and you have a lot of guys that are in the spotlight for the first time, what do you and your staff say to them so that they don't worry
Well, I
about
say
that?
the same thing as when you all buried us last week, all right, and all that it really doesn't matter what you think, all right, and it really doesn't matter what you say. And I'm hoping that nobody on our team is playing for you. I hope they're playing for each other and their team and what they want to accomplish, and not what you think, all right, because that's not certainly what I'm doing. I'm coaching and working for our players and our team to be as good as it can be. And if that's not pleasing to somebody else, it's not pleasing to somebody else. I said before, I believe in our team. I do believe in our team, all right, and we're going to work hard to make our team better. And I hope the players respond the right way. And it's not going to be for you. The fans, yes. Because if it was up to you, we're 6 foot under already. We're dead and buried and gone. Gone.
Last one with Alex.
So if that was the case, I mean, we'd have to get some respirators out or something down there, all right, to put life back in people.
Last one with Alex.
It's hard to
You
follow.
better make it a good one now, because I'm about half fired up here.
I know you don't like to do comparisons, but
No, I don't, so don't ask me a comparison
I'm
question.
not. But with Calvin Ridley, was it nice to see him kind of emerge in that playmaker role, the role that you had last year, or last few years with Amari and some others in the past?
Well, we hoped that that role would happen with, really 3 guys this year. Robert Foster, Ardarius Stewart, and Calvin Ridley showed us enough early in camp and so forth that we thought he could emerge as being one of those guys. And with the circumstances as they are, he's gotten more opportunity and he's responded very well to it. We just need to get more guys at the receiver position to sort of have that kind of confidence and that kind of consistency, that kind of preparation, that kind of attention to detail that's going to have us have more players that can make explosive plays on the perimeter.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.